to be talking about being comfortable on camera, because if you're going to do video, you want to feel comfortable. So I have Sabahat, and correct that if that was wrong. And she is an expert at making people comfortable on camera. So I'm just going to let you introduce yourself a little bit, maybe talk a little bit about what you do, and we're just going to have a conversation here. And feel free to type in messages, type in questions. Let's make this a group thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brighton, for inviting me to your little Blab show. Thank you to whoever's joining in. I hope you get a lot of value out of this session. My name is Sabahat, and I live in Western Canada. I say Western Canada because people might not know where Victoria, British Columbia is. If you do, then that's awesome. Let me know in the chat if you know where that is. I'm a leadership and speaking coach. So I help entrepreneurs get super comfortable about going on video, because as entrepreneurs who have an online presence or an online business, it is such a great way to connect with your audience when you're able to just jump on a webinar and just really deliver some valuable content to your audience, or just to, just like how we're doing right now, you and me, Brighton, right? Just jump onto a Blab session and just, have a conversation about a topic that we're both comfortable about. So that's what I help people with right now. And I also help entrepreneurs do public speaking in real life as well. So that's what I do. And I think this should be a fun little session.
Yeah, great. Well, I love that, because I think, obviously, I'm a fan of video. I'm also a fan of public speaking. I found a couple people out there. Actually, I found one person who is a really confident speaker, but not so confident on video. Have you ever come across people who have kind of cross purposes there?
Yes, actually, that's a really interesting thing you mentioned, because it's not the same. Okay, it's not the same. Being comfortable speaking in public to a group is not the same as being comfortable on video, because there's a reason why. They are a little bit different dynamics. When you're in front of a group of people, there is the human aspect in front of you, right? There's a human aspect in front of you, and there's the possibility of feedback. So when you're talking to a group of people, you could read their faces. You could tell whether they're having a good time, or they're nodding along with what you're saying, because they're like, yeah, I totally agree with that. Or they're smiling, or they're shocked, or they can see the emotion in their face. So you can really feed off of that, right? Sometimes it is also a little bit daunting, because you're like, wow, I can really read people's body language. So if they're not enjoying what I'm saying, it might throw you off. But also to get your message across in person, you can kind of move around, really use your whole body to establish and illustrate your point. But on camera, right now, it's great that I have you talking to, Brighton, but sometimes if I'm just doing a webinar or whatever, I'm just simply talking to the camera, the little webcam, right? Yeah. And the microphone. So they're just inanimate objects. So people sometimes feel unnatural or stiff. They're like, well, this is not like I'm talking to myself. I feel really weird, right? So there's no human aspect. And because of that, people some people struggle getting their personality across.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And that's why I love Blab versus something like I did Facebook Live once. I don't know if you've done Facebook Live, but you get some interaction through comments only, but you're right, you don't get any of that body language. And you're seeing, there's a couple other people here, but we're not, we know they're here, but we don't know, their reactions and whatnot. So it's a little different. So I really like Blab because you can see the other person, or see at least one other person, and go like, okay, it's not just me alone over here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm having a conversation with you, right? Like face to face. It's not just like, hey, I'm talking to somebody and all of you can type me comments down below to interact with me. Yeah.
Right, exactly. This is more of a two-way conversation versus like I get to speak, or Periscope, I think is another one that's like that. It's like the speaker gets to speak, but everyone else is like relegated to they can only type in comments.
Just like hi, hello, and that's it. Like I find Facebook Live to be I find out of all these platforms right now that I'm familiar with, I find Facebook Live to be a little bit better, not better, a bit more of a personal, has a bit of a personal aspect than Periscope, because Periscope, anyone can jump on, which is great. But however, they can only type in, I think, like really small comments and like, hi, hello. And sometimes you don't even know who they are. But Facebook Live, you know who's coming in and who are talking to you, and they can type in really, really like long comments with, if they have a big question, then they can type that in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wonder, Blab made some big changes. Have you done Blab before? Is this your first Blab by any chance?
No, it's my second Blab.
Okay.
So myself and a few other ladies once interviewed Elaine Slater, who is the CEO who wrote a book called Fempreneurship. And she's also a CEO of some consulting company as well in Canada. So we just talked to her about like, entrepreneurship, especially for female entrepreneurship, and how it differs from just entrepreneurship by males, I guess, and what the specific nuances that some women struggle with when starting their own companies. So it was a really good, fun time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier, and we talked about how you can now put websites in Blab, which you couldn't do. And Blab's definitely making a lot of changes. And I've actually seen some people jump ship and go to Facebook Live within the last week, because Blab now requires you to log in to watch a Blab. So you could, before, there used to be like a plus number up here, and you'd see these extra people that were not logged in but were watching. And then you could also watch like via my website without being logged in. And that's like, Blab has changed that within the last week. So cool. So it'll be interesting to see how this changes Blab. If people are going to stick with it, or if they're going to be like, oh yeah, maybe not. And if it changes over. But yeah, okay, I want to talk about female entrepreneurs and being on camera. Because when I first started my business, I thought for sure I'd be working with men. And I'll tell you why, because I mean, I help people get into online video. And quite frankly, men are not judged online the way women are judged online. So as a man, it's a lot easier to be, I mean, quite frankly, a less attractive man, and you deliver your content and people accept your content, and they don't care if you're bald or if you're overweight or whatnot. There's not as much judging. I say as much because I do have like teenagers writing me mean messages on YouTube. But with women, it's almost like guaranteed that you're going to get that negative feedback that's focusing on you visibly instead of your content. So, however, it's gone the opposite direction. I work mostly with women, and I think that's because women are more likely to not think that they know everything and want someone to help them. But yeah, so maybe you could tell me, like, you know, in terms of women being on camera versus men, you know, what are your thoughts there?
I think the whole getting judged on the way they're looking, for women, there's a judgment more rather than men. I think it's not just about being on camera. It's just in life in particular, right? Like, even if you're working in an office and you're just coming in to do your accounting job every single day, right? Mm-hmm. People in general are more likely to respect a man who are very somber and serious, and even if they're not particularly good looking or that well dressed, as long as they have an air of authority. Well, for women, they still have people automatically, subconsciously are attracted not in a sexual way, but just attracted as a person, as a worker, as a leader, if they present themselves in a better way, if they smile perhaps a little bit more. So it's a societal judgment that's not just on camera. It's just all the time. In real life too. Right. So I don't think it's very different on camera. However, what you said is that women feel it more. Yes, because yes, you're right. Because women, just today, just this morning, someone who, I have a Facebook group, right, where I help people get comfortable on camera. And there was a woman who just recently joined it because I asked her that if you need help, you can feel free to join it. But she just posted a video giving some valuable tips on something about business related. I can't remember because it was a week ago. She posted in a public group, like a really big group, not in my group. And she said, oh, I'm not sure how I feel, how I'm looking on this. Can you be really kind, but give me some feedback? And most of the people in that group were really kind. And they said, oh, you sound great. You look great. There's no problem. But this morning she was saying, actually, I feel like this is an issue for me because a long time ago, apparently she did a video and she put it on there and someone emailed her saying kindly, she said, I want to be kind to you, but you need to improve the way you look and sound on camera and you're not that great and you need to more practice and whatever. Even though some other people had emailed her saying, oh, I really appreciated your content.
Right.
But those compliments didn't really stand out for her as much as this negative remark did. And after that, it just apparently was a big blow to her confidence and she just stopped making videos for a long time. So now she's just trying to get back on it again. So I think this kind of judgment is just all the time in life that women have to deal with, unfortunately. Yep. But, and I think people are less likely to tell, for some reason, people are less likely to tell a man, hey, you're not looking that great on camera. You're going to need more practice. Maybe they feel like it's okay to tell a woman because they're softer, more vulnerable.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It might be more confrontational if you're telling a man.
It might be. They might be like, well, I don't care how you think I look. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Actually, and there is like a psychological theory about this as to why we accept negative information better than positive information. And it has to do with evolution. It's that, when bad things happen to us, we could die. And so our brains are really good at remembering the bad things. So like if you saw someone get bit by a snake that's, red, yellow, and white, and they died, your brain will remember red, yellow, and white for the rest of your life.
As death.
As death. But, if someone got, if something good happened to someone and, they ate a plant or something, that's not as important for us to remember the positive things as it is for us to remember the negative things. So it's really just really deep in our brains that if someone says something negative to us, it's just, it's the end.
Yeah, it's
actually,
so true.
I just had a call with someone before this, just about an hour ago, and it did not go well. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so dejected and whatnot. And I'm like, but and I could feel it in my chest. I really could feel, but it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. And there's all these other good, I had a call that went amazing right before that one. Yeah. So it's kind of, but I kind of forgot the amazing one where I made a great connection with someone that I'm going to be communicating with for a long time. But the one that just, kind of flopped from the beginning, it just, yeah. So I think it's always there. So, well, maybe you could kind of give me a sample, like what do you tell people? What is it that helps people become confident on video? If you're working with a client, how does that work?
Okay. So there's many different ways for that, right? Like, it's feeling good on camera, feeling confident on camera has so many different dimensions to it. And it's hard to tell you one thing that is the make or break. It's not, but a few things would be, is not focusing so much on, oh my God, am I sounding okay? Am I looking okay? Or this or that, but focusing really making sure to focus on the content and the value that you're providing somebody when you're talking to them on the camera. Like right now, I would love to make sure that I look good and I sound good, but I want to be making sure that what I'm telling you right now is of use to you and to our viewers, right? So making sure that the content you're delivering is important and valuable is number one, is key, because one of the psychology of video and really a lot of things is that it's not really about you as much as you make it out to be in your head.
Yep.
It really isn't. You have to make it about the person who's seeing your video or listening to you. You have to make sure that they feel amazing when they see your video. If you're delivering great content, valuable content, then they are going to feel that they just got so much information and so much knowledge and they feel so much more educated now and so much more enlightened now. And then they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's great. And then they're going to come back to see your videos again, right? So focusing on the value is a little bit of a mindset shift, of course. Like you kind of be like, okay, I just don't care how I look anymore. And it's not going to be like that. But that's one of the things that I tell my clients to remember is the value that you're giving, especially as an entrepreneur, is you always have to make sure that you're providing value, right? that's one thing. And yeah, like but there will always be one or two people who might just like that lady I was talking to about, like who might email you saying, hey, whatever, but that person isn't your ideal clientele. So it doesn't matter. And I told her a little joke. I can tell you later on about it, but that's one thing. Another thing is if you're really like this whole like webcam business is just making you feel like, what is this weird black or white little object I'm talking to? It's just practicing a lot.
Yes.
Right. It is just practicing as much as you can. Just put up silly videos, like 2-second videos, like 10 seconds videos of yourself and put it on your Facebook or send it to your friend. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. Right. There is no like, I didn't turn on the camera and be like, hey, I feel great. You didn't either. I'm sure, Brighton, right? It was a learning curve, right? We slowly got better and more comfortable. We learned what angle looks good on us, where the lighting and how to sit so you can have the best like light on your face, how to speak so it's people can hear it properly and get your message across. So it is a learning curve, and the more you practice, the better you get at it. Yeah,
I definitely like that. That's working with clients. I start out, I'm like, okay, well, do you have a webcam? Let's start making videos now. Because by the time we get to the point where we've got your content down and we've got your lighting down and we've got, everything down to the point where you're going to make a professional video, you will have gotten over the camera shyness.
Exactly.
Start to work on the deeper stuff.
Yeah. And exactly. So the more you do, the better you get. And by the time you've done like 10 videos or 15 videos, you're going to be like, second nature to you. I just recently hosted a little like challenge on my group, on my Facebook group. It was like a video challenge, like 5-day video challenge. So whoever joined and wanted to take part in it, I gave them little like simple, like really like 2-minute little video tasks to do every day. And it started off really simple. Like the first day was turn on the camera and just tell me something that you're great at. So you're zoning into something that people feel good about themselves. So they're saying that to the camera, right? And then it's a 5-second video or 20-second video, doesn't matter. Just put something out there, right? And as they did that, people commented on each other like, oh, that sounds great. Oh, I want to know more about that, whatever. So people started building confidence. And then day 2 was tell me a joke or something funny that happened. Day 3, day 4. So by day 5, I had one girl who was telling me that when she came into the challenge, because she never really did video very much, she was always trying to get around doing video. She didn't want to do it because she's like, I'm thinking of ways to go around it all the time, right? By the time she finished, just like day 4 and 5, she was saying that she loved it so much. Her brain was getting used to it, and she wanted to do video for everything. Just in 5 days. Like you get huge difference just if you practice. That's all it is. Just practicing, putting yourself out there.
Yes. And I love going and having people post their first video, even if it's awful, because then you can go back historically. Marie Forleo, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's entrepreneur coach. And she has her first video still on her channel. It's her sitting on her couch with like an iPad. And it's like, she's like wearing sweatpants. And, for those of you who know Marie, she is, very well put together in her videos now. And she has a, professional crew and makeup people, and, someone else is holding the iPad for her. So it's great to see that transition over time and to realize that, Marie Forleo, huge following on YouTube, huge following in general. She didn't start out as that person who was perfect.
Exactly. And so a lot of like, a lot of entrepreneurs and really well established ones say that where you're starting right now, if you can compare that to, let's say, Marie Forleo's videos right now or Natalie McNeil's videos right now, because they have a whole crew and they've been doing it for 3 years, 10 years, right? And you're just starting video. So just start, just go and even if it's bad, not everyone, you don't have to go and broadcast it on YouTube. Just keep it there, show it to one person. And then next time you show it to 3 people. And then next time show it to 10 people. And then you will slowly get the confidence to go ahead.
Yeah, I like that. And we'll have to talk about the video challenge, because that's been going around in my head for a while now. I'm like, I want to do a video challenge, but I haven't even participated in one yet. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should try it before I host it. But it seems like a really good idea because I completely agree. It's people need to get used to it. And once they get used to it, they're comfortable. But then they also need some help from that standpoint. They can get comfortable on camera. So maybe this is a question for you is, once someone's comfortable on camera, what if they're producing, do you also coach them through content and technique to make sure that, I see this in Facebook groups where people will post a video of them and I'm like, wow, that is, I don't care about that. And that just, it's just blabber versus useful content. So do you work on that with people too?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It is so important to make sure that what you're talking about stays on point. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who are not used to being on camera very much like to just ramble off and they start talking about something and then they kind of forget what they were really talking about. And then they're like, so anyway, and they have this like lost look and they're like not sure what they were and they try to come back. So yes, I do coach them on content too. And I help them really narrow down, like when you're talking about something and you want to get one message across, make sure you know what you're going to say, right? You don't need to, depending on the format of the video you're doing, right? For this blab right now, it's really informal. So I don't have a script, like we're just talking. But if you are doing a webinar, you need to make sure all your content is really well laid out in slides, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't just wing it and just go off. So depending on the format, you need to have your content well laid out and solid. And I do coach people on content as well, because once you get more comfortable on camera, you might want to, take it up a notch and start and maybe have a video that explains your brand or explains how you got into business and you might want to put it on your website. So how do you do the storytelling, right? Yep. Storytelling is important, very important, because it helps get to the heart of the matter. It captures people's hearts, right? It can be very compelling, very captivating if you do it right. Mm-hmm. So I teach people how to do the storytelling really well as well, really narrow down into what it is that their story is and how they got into business, right? Because all of that can connect with the right audience, right? If I see an entrepreneur who just went through a journey that I really relate to, chances are I'm going to be following them more closely on social media from now on because I'm like, oh, I relate to her, right? Mm-hmm. So storytelling is key, very, very important, but that is the next step after someone gets comfortable on camera. And I help people do that too.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think, we are going back into how our brains work. We're all about stories. So telling that story and not just informing people, I think is important. So we just had Albert Kaufman join. So Albert, welcome.
Hi, Albert.
Albert usually is chatty, so I'm sure we can count on him to start sending us some good vibes from the comment section.
Awesome.
There we go. Just finished round 2 in Manzanita. Albert and I actually presented together last week in Manzanita, Oregon, so West Coast, USA. And it was a great day out there presenting to some small businesses out on the coast.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
nice to meet you, Albert.
Yeah, Albert's a great guy. So there we go. Likewise. But and also a big blabber. He loves Blab, and he's the one who introduced me to Blab. So, and I'm really, I like Blab, and it's interesting. I want to get a little bit, kind of back into the conversation. Do you talk to people about using a script or using a teleprompter, or how do you help them, to feel confident about their content? Because like right now, this is totally ad lib. Most of my YouTube videos, I have a teleprompter and I write out that script and I also edit it. And this is clearly not edited. If we go off on a tangent, whoops, that's my fault. And it's going to be in there. But how do you work with people to speak the content? Right.
So I personally don't work with teleprompters because I have never hosted a show that's 3 hours long that I need to have all the content right there that I need to know for 3 hours, right? So most of my stuff is like 45 minutes to an hour long, and it's either in front of me that I can just refer to back and forth, or I just practice it so many times that I know the outline of it really well, and then I just really improvise, because I feel that you need to have two aspects to having a really well prepared speech. One is the content has to be really, really down pat, right? Really solid and down pat, right? Yep. So if you are good with using a teleprompter and you feel comfortable with having the teleprompter come up with the text and it keeps you on pace and your pacing doesn't just go off, then that is totally fine. Or you can just have in whichever format you like to have your content in, you have that. But it's also necessary to leave a little bit of room for just spontaneity and improvisation. Because as scripted as you do want to be, you don't want to be so scripted that someone can tell that you're reading from a teleprompter and you're just like forgetting to smile and forgetting to crack a joke. And obviously you don't want to be cracking jokes reading from a teleprompter. Like, no, don't do that. Yep. Right? So, but if someone is really experienced, I'm sure Mary Forlia, we were talking about her earlier, or you are really experienced with doing teleprompters. If someone is really experienced and feels completely comfortable with a teleprompter, then go right for it. But most of my clients are not at that stage of using teleprompters and being live on television yet. So for them, just knowing the content, being able to refer to it, and just feeling confident enough to be like, even if I forget one thing, that's fine. And I'll come back to it and remember it.
Right.
That's my focus. Yeah.
Yeah, I use a teleprompter for my 3-minute long videos. So for me, it's so easy. And actually one of the things, and I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about getting out there and feeling confident and whatnot. One of the things I find is that, and I noticed you're doing it, is looking at the camera and not looking down at the screen, like looking at yourself while you're having this conversation.
Yeah.
So that it looks like you're looking at the other person. But the other thing is you don't necessarily see exactly what you look like. Because, it's just a few degrees down the screen. I am really self-conscious about how much I blink. And you guys can tell me how often I'm blinking, but by looking at the camera, I can't tell if I'm blinking a lot. So it kind of like just goes away. But when I read a teleprompter, I don't blink. Or I blink like a normal person. I blink, once every, whatever, I don't know, 10 seconds or something. But for me, it makes it look more natural. But for most people, I get what you're saying. It makes them look stiff. And I work with a lot of people, like a lot of my clients, I have them read a teleprompter. But it takes a little bit of getting used to. And, exactly. Letting them change out words and whatnot. It's like that helps to, to have it sound natural.
Yeah. Like you were saying that a lot of the times it's important to, like, for the first time when people start doing video, they're not even looking at the lens, they're looking at themselves, right? And it just looks like, what am I doing right now, right? So it is important, and that's one of the things the first things I told my people in my group was make sure you look at the camera. If you're curious to how you're looking, look down for a second. Okay, I'm looking good, keep going, right? Like, it's fine, it's not gonna make or break anything, right? Just keep it normal and natural and be yourself and just look at the camera, look at the other person you're talking to. Like right now I'm looking at you, right? And just see how you're reacting to my, to what I'm saying, right? So it doesn't have to be super stiff, like I cannot look away at all. But it's fine to take a split second to look at yourself or look at the other person and then go back. Yeah, but teleprompter, I'm sure it takes a lot of getting used to. I've done it. I did it a long time ago many years ago, I co-hosted a TV show many, many years ago. And I think there was a teleprompter in the audience, but I was just like, not my thing. But I'm sure if I had to, then I could get used to it.
Yeah, they're kind of cool. And actually, I've thought about like, can you project someone else's image onto the teleprompter so it looks like you're having a conversation with them? Super comfortable.
Like a background, like a screensaver?
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like a picture of your dog or something that's in front of the lens. And be like, okay, I'm talking to my dog.
No, don't make me bring out my dog voice. And that's a different voice altogether. It's like talking to my dog. It's a different voice.
Great. So why don't you, you mentioned kind of a little bit of TV in your background. Why don't you tell me a little bit about, your background, who you are? I mean, you mentioned you're from Canada, but a little more.
My background is super random and unconventional. My TV thing was, so the first time I was on TV was when I was really, really young, like I think like 7 or 8 or 10 or something. And I was in a music video of a family member who was actually like a celebrity of some sort back in my home country. So I was and I loved it. I was like, oh, this is so much fun, whatever. And at the end, I thought I was doing a great job, but I didn't really make it to the final cut of the music video. So that was a blow to my ego. Actually, it wasn't, because my mom told me it's because you were doing better than everyone else. So you were outshining everyone. That's why they chose not to include you. So I'm like, I like that explanation. I'm going to stick with that.
Yep, definitely. You don't want to outshine the main
That's
talent.
why I was just outshining everyone.
Yep.
Another time was when I was, the thing I was telling you about, where I was co-hosting a TV show, was about 7 to 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly which year it was. I was a co-host on a TV show in Montreal. I used to live in Montreal. I used to go to university in Montreal. I'm going to tell you what I went to university for. So I was in university in Montreal, and I was asked to be a co-host for a TV show. It was, even though it was my native language, I'm not really fluent in it. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I love being on camera and TV, and I'm pretty good. So I think I can do this. However, I had to speak in that language the whole time. So I didn't sound like as natural as I am now. So it was just like, I was very stiff, and I was like, I'm not going to use that word because I don't really know how to pronounce it very well. So it was not that great. Even though I was like really like, I was feeling good, but my language abilities for that language was not great. Yeah, so that was that. It was a short-lived gig because of that, I think. Actually, it was a short-lived gig because the director kind of just like fell off our producer, director, he was the same thing. He was the producer and the director, fell off the face of the earth, and I never saw him again. And I tried to contact him, and he just disappeared. It's an interesting story. But anyway, I've done like interview appearances and things like that on TV since then, quite a bit. So I'm really familiar with the camera and Go Now and the microphone and whatever. So it's fine. And I've done a lot of public speaking as well, like in real life. But my background actually is, drum roll, in engineering.
Oh,
I know. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
I know. I have an academic background in engineering and project management. So I've done a lot of like corporate roles in my life where I've managed engineering projects and for construction, commercial construction and oil and gas and things like that.
Wow. Okay. So that's a pretty big departure from where you came from.
It is.
Because that, I think of like engineering and all that as being so behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
Like exactly. Like when I first, it's interesting you say that because I went to school for engineering, and then as soon as I started working in engineering after I graduated, within a year, I'm like, I knew I didn't want to keep doing that. So I moved on to project management because I felt like it was a bit more in front, right? It was a bit more of a leading role. And I could control a lot of the aspects of the project, and I could be the front-facing, the client-facing person and speak on behalf of the whole project and the team. So I did that because I just didn't like being the person just doing one thing like behind the scenes. Right. But yeah.
So a little transition there, and Albert has acknowledged you for outshining everyone still to this day. So,
that's not nice.
Yeah, very nice. So I like to keep my blabs to about 40 minutes. So I want to wrap up here, and I'm sure we will keep in touch. And
wow, it's been 40 minutes already. Time flies when you're having fun, Brighton. I thought it was 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It does go fast. So. Ask him what he has done this trees. Okay, I'm assuming that's with trees. So I used to be a tree person.
What about a tree person?
I worked for tree nonprofits for 11 years. So before I got into this whole video thing, and video was always my hobby, and that's how I kind of got good at it. But actually, a little bit about being in front of camera. I started out. I've been doing video for like 20 years or something like that. I was always behind the camera, up until a year and a half ago or something like that. And I was always the guy behind the camera, but then I realized I wasn't getting kind of I wanted to be out front too. And it was a really hard transition. So I get how hard it can be to first get on camera, because I did it too. I guess all of us did it. We got on camera.
And then we went past it.
Yeah, exactly. And you got past it, and it's just, you have to start. And it was something where I was like, okay, I have to do this. Like this, I had to do a Kickstarter video, and it probably took me 4 hours to record just a couple minutes because I just kept re-recording and re-recording and re-recording. But I was asking people for money for my web series, and
that's awesome.
It had to be me.
It's cool. I like what you're saying, that we have these different backgrounds and we just eventually end up like video and everything. But because I got into leadership coaching because I felt like I wanted to help people who were just couldn't step into their power and really own what they were about and just be really solid in it, right? So the leadership coaching was kind of what segued me into speaking as well, because I really enjoyed public speaking so much. And then I saw that a lot of people were shying away from it. And because they were shying away from it, they were not able to establish themselves as the authority and the leader in what they were, even though they were amazing people with such great ideas, right? But they just couldn't establish themselves as that because they were just kind of intimidated by being in front of people. So that's why my leadership coaching and my speaking coaching just like kind of really go hand in hand.
Yeah. That's great. And I talk about why video is so great at authority building, because, you know, if you could be the world's ultimate authority on something, and if all you're doing is blogging about it, no one really remembers who the author of a blog was. Like if you read a blog today, like no one even reads who the author is. Versus if you see a person on camera saying it, which is also why people need to be on camera and not just doing like a little PowerPoint presentation video on YouTube. People can't help but remember who you were. And it's really powerful in terms of authority building. So
exactly.
Great. Well, I want to give you a chance to kind of throw out your authority here. Let people know how they can contact you. And, you know, where to find resources around you.
Okay, great. So I guess my full name is right there on the left. I'm like, well, my full name is kind of hard to tell you and you remember, but you can search me on Facebook, and I have my own Facebook page. I have a Facebook group too if you want to come and practice your video speaking skills. My Facebook group is called Maverick Speaker Collective. I really like the word Maverick because it's someone who's unconventional and sort of a leader in their own way of doing things. So I really connect with that word and relate to that word. So it's called the Maverick Speaker Collective. And I'm on Facebook. There's a Facebook page, or you can go to sabahatnaureen.com. I have my free challenge on my Facebook group, or I also have an in-depth training series that you can work with me on. So if you want to really, really get in depth into the storytelling, like I was talking to you about before, Brighton, the whole storytelling, and really not just get comfortable on camera to just talk a little bit, but if you want to be like, you know what, I want video to be a part of my brand. I want to make sure I come across to people as the authority in my field. I want to make some branding videos and business videos. I want to do talks. And I want to tell my story. If you want to do all of that, then I also have a really nice training program called the Maverick Speaker Mastermind. And it's on my website, or you can ask me in the chat box right there. But yeah, there's many different ways to work with me. And I would love to work with you, or even just connect with you. So add me on Facebook, find me on Facebook, and or Twitter. Or on Twitter. Yeah, I'm on Twitter too.
So do you have something coming out like real soon this coming week, or so, aren't you launching something new? And I was typing in your Facebook group there to make sure that people could, I can pin it too and make it really very easy.
Yes, actually, yes, you're right. I launched my Maverick Speaker. I launched my Maverick Speaker Mastermind training program just yesterday. I had my webinar where I had my webinar where I introduced the Maverick Speaker Mastermind to the public, and I just launched the training program yesterday. So if you are interested in that, can I put that?
Yeah, just you type it down there as a message. And I just love Blab. Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. I tried to put something over there and nothing showed up. Let me try to put that one over. Pin that, see if it shows up. But they're clickable links down there on the
exactly.
People can open them. Things show up kind of funny in Blab. They keep changing things.
That's fine. That's okay.
There we go. Albert says he's got it. So,
that's awesome. Thanks, Albert.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, especially if you're just like here having a launch. So you spent some time with us talking about being comfortable on camera. And great. Well, I'm definitely planning on keeping in touch with you, maybe joining the Maverick Speaker Mastermind too, or one of the other groups on Facebook. But thank you all for joining today. And of course, you'll find this on YouTube. Thank you if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Blab afterwards. And I will see you all next week. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brighton. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I hope we didn't bore you too much, but I thought we were having so much fun. Me and Brighton, I don't think we bored you.
I don't think so. And Albert's definitely having a great day.
Have a great day, you too, Albert.
Okay.